Welcome everybody to the second session here on Epic and in the marketing track. Thank you all for being here. And in this session, we'll be speaking with Mark Mandic of Markus Jayne Ball Pythons located in Ontario, Canada. And tonight, we'll be speaking with him about presenting your brand at Reptile Expos. So we want to welcome Mark. Welcome, Mark.
Hi, guys. Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Nikki and Kurt, right?
Yep, Absolutely. You got it.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us tonight and braving the ice storm.
The opportunity. Yeah, we've had a rough week. So if all of a sudden I freeze and my lips move, but it's not a glitch. I'm just screwing with you.
He is. It's true. He already did it to me backstage, and I fell for it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we're really happy to be here with you tonight, and we are really looking forward to getting to know you a bit and having the people in the audience get to know you a bit. We only have 30 minutes, so we're going to get right into it.
So
okay.
We scrolled back on your Instagram. Where you had shared a presentation of your table from your first CRBE in 2009, and then a picture of one now. Can you speak to to your theory of presentation at Reptile Expos?
Well, it was interesting when I first got into this. It was the year 2000. And I really didn't have anything to sell, but I did go to a few expos, and they were very, very small. I mean, Daytona was on my radar, but I wasn't ready to go there. So I went to some of the expos we have up here, and basically, they were in Legion halls. Do you have Legion halls in the States?
We do.
Okay, Legion Hall basements or Legion Halls, church basements and stuff like that. And I noticed everybody that was displaying basically had the same thing. They had a black plastic tablecloth and then snakes in different deli type containers that were meant for food. And because, you didn't have the ARS or those different displays, LP displays and so on. So when I went, I thought, if I'm going to stand out, I have to be different from everybody, and I have to do it completely differently. So I decided, I would have some banners made. Nobody had banners. And I went, instead of with a tablecloth, I would buy these. I wanted it to look very exotic, so I bought these bamboo window covers from IKEA, and I used that as a tablecloth and so on. And I also brought a TV. Now, I'm not sure how old you guys are, but remember the TVs that were like this deep, not just flat screen, they were tube TVs.
Oh yes.
And
Mark,
the biggest TV.
When I was a kid, my parents had the wood box TV. It was in a giant wood box that rotated.
They still have it.
Yeah. Exactly. Great technology. Anyway, I made a VHS tape of all these different morphs, and I brought it and I set up the TV on a stand, and I put in a VHS tape, and I played it so people had something to look at besides just me and the snakes. Because at that point, all I had to sell were normals. I didn't have any morphs or anything like that. So it right off the bat, people started talking about that, and people said, well, maybe we should get some banners made, and maybe we should do this and whatever. But, half the thing about a show, I always say, it's called the snake show. It's not called the snake sale. So realistically, over 95% of the people that go to the show are not going to buy a snake from you. But if you can leave a lasting impression that at least they talk about you and at least they remember you, then you're way further ahead than the person that just comes with no banners and, they've got a table and they put, you know, they fill the whole table with as many snakes as they can put on there. And that just isn't very memorable. So give them something to remember and give them something to talk about. And so when we evolved with the exhibit, I mean, I remember making these wooden frames and staining them an orange color, and then setting aquariums in there with lights, and I'd have different snakes on display in aquariums. So I have a wall of these aquariums that people could look at. And what you want is people just not to glance over your table, but to spend time at your table and to really take what you have in. The other thing I did that nobody was thinking about doing was I put carpet in front of my tables with sponge flooring, so that when people stood there, they instantly felt comfortable. They didn't know why, but they were like, "Oh, this is not. I think I'm going to hang out here for a while," And eventually, it clicked, and they said, "You've got carpet down. Nobody else has carpet." So little things like that makes all the difference in the world, and that the whole carpet thing has been brought up so many times in podcasts, the interviews I've done, and say, yeah, you're the guy with the carpet. Everybody talks about the carpet, and being comfortable. So, try to be different than everybody else, but not, crazy different, not outlandishly different, but just, do that.
What would you say, like, besides customer service, because obviously customer service when you're at an expo is like the top, right? You've got your got your brand, you've got your customer service. What do you think is the next most important thing?
I think having a display that people will really marvel at and comment on just the display. Also, I live by the rule less is more. I think if you have several tables, you got your tables just jam full of snakes, just rack after, display after display after display, people get lost. And so, for example, if you were to put up a big backdrop and you want your logo to stand out, then put your logo on there. If you want to put one snake, great. Two, maybe. But if you jam everything up there, it just becomes too busy and nothing stands out. You want people to come to the show and make sure that they remember you and they talk about you. Hopefully they're going to buy a snake from you, or they will down the road. And that happens a lot where, after show sales, spike because they saw you at the show. So keep it clean. Like right now, I don't know if you saw my latest booth, which I redid 2 years ago. I changed my displays because everybody had the same display, so I went with different displays. And I also spaced everything. So there's 8 sections, and in between each section, there's a big space with nothing. And the reason being is they focus on this section, and the section should have, if it's albino based, then make it albinos. If it's clown based, make them all clowns. If it's pied based, make them all pieds. So every section has a different type of morph category per se. And whereas I could save money by going half as big and displaying the same amount of snakes, but what you pay for that extra booth and allowing more space and giving people more breathing room, it's going to pay for itself, because realistically, for what a booth costs, all you really have to do is sell 1 or 2 additional snakes because of your display. So why not go big in that situation and make more room?
Looking back at your photo from 2009 to about, what, 2 years ago, 2023, I think was your photo that you're talking about. You changed your colors up a bit. You still have your orange. Do you have some theory behind the colors that you ended up going with? Your white tablecloth, your...
Well, again, everything was black.
Yeah.
Everybody had black tablecloths. Everybody had black banners with their logo on it. Everybody was wearing black T-shirts, and I wanted again to stand out and be very clean looking. I didn't want to be ominously. I mean, black. Let's face it; it's an ominous color. Now behind me, I've got a lot of black, but it blends with a lot of color as well. I don't think white in the background would work as well as the black does because of the lighting and so on. But again, it gave people something, to talk about. And, people that weren't involved in the reptile industry would come up and comment and say, I run a jewelry shop, and this kind of reminds me of the way you do things. When you walk into a jewelry shop, a good jewelry shop, it's not just they don't throw as much on display as they possibly could. There's a space between everything. And I also believe, not to cram things in to spaces. Give it a lot of room so that there's a lot of space around an animal so that they can really focus on that animal, as opposed to seeing it all bunched up and tight to the walls.
I think that makes a lot of sense, because I think when we go to expos, it can get really overwhelming. Like you said, there's a lot of colors, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of animals. And if you have a lot of something in one space, like if you had all of your displays instead of not spaced out with your nice tablecloth in the middle with your logo on it, you might just overlook the whole booth because it became too overwhelming. So you were really thoughtful in that.
Yeah, absolutely overwhelming. And I mean, I've seen some booths. I was at Tinley this year, and there were some excellent displays, and only, a 10-foot booth. But the way they did it, they weren't crammed in, and it allowed you to focus on particular snakes. And the other thing is, it is a show. So bring stuff to show. Don't think every snake you're bringing is a snake that you could potentially sell. Bring stuff you don't plan on selling, because that gets people talking as well. So I mean, I remember a few years ago, there was this one snake that I sold to somebody, and they said, okay, put it on hold. I put it on hold. They were going to come back and pay for it later. And I knew the person, but I didn't put sold. I just put on hold. Well, I could have sold that snake 20 times for more money.
Yes.
I mean, for more money, just by putting a on hold sign on it, but so if you show stuff that you're not going to sell, it also inspires people to, try and work towards those types of snakes. And you got to show everything from, your base on up to the very best, so you can, show that journey. But you make everything clear and visible, and not too busy. Not too busy is important. I mean, you mentioned that I changed from, to the white, and 2 years ago, all my banners, I changed to a gray background.
I noticed that too.
And the reason all the snakes used to be shot on white, but I found shooting snakes on white was quite difficult to do. And you had to do a white balance. And in order to do a white balance, you used a gray card to do this white balance. Well, I thought, why don't I just shoot on gray? So I changed the background from white to the, silver or gray. And I really liked the way the pictures came out. So I wanted continuity with the way my pictures are presented to the way my banners are presented. My tablecloths are still white, and that will never change. My wife and I discussed, should we go with gray tablecloth? And I thought, no, because a lot of people comment on the white, being so clean and that. So we're going to stick with the white. And, honestly, all you have to do is look at some of the most successful companies in history and how they do things. Apple. I mean, it's right there. Just go to their website and check out what they do. It's very simple. If you go to my website, you'll see it's all white. So, yeah. Learn by example.
Yes, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
With your
Yeah.
photo, I really love your photo banners too. Now you don't have to pack around your TV or your wooden box to display your photos anymore. So that works very well too.
It works great. And I used to bring a big screen TV, like I'd have a 55-inch TV, and I'd set that up, and I'd have pictures going, and the logo would always be on every picture or whatever. But I also found that people will only look at something like that for a very, very short period of time. And I thought, instead of them staring at this TV changing pictures, why not just have it simple? Because it's a lot easier bringing a banner these days than it is bringing a TV, and make the show on the table.
It looks excellent. My next question for you is,
well, thank you.
Well, when you are dealing with people in person, it's a lot different than dealing with customers online, obviously.
Yeah, it is.
What are your strategies for bringing in customers without being pushy? Because sometimes at expos, you get a vendor that can be a little bit too forward in their sales. Do you have any tips or insights into a way to do it that's not?
Well, one thing that I do is I'll either always be standing up behind the booth, and if I am sitting down, I bring stools that are quite high. So if I need to take, let's face it, it's hard standing for the whole day. But I also have those rubber mats behind the tables so that it's comfortable to stand. I think it's important if you have to create a situation where somebody feels comfortable to ask a question and they're not intimidated. So, just being friendly and saying, if you have any questions, please ask. The other thing is to go around to the front of the table, stand with that person, as opposed to having that barrier between you. Create a situation where if there is a question, they will ask it. So, for example, I don't necessarily put all the genes down that are in the snake. I put an ID number. So they'll go, well, what does SNCL, blah, blah, like what genes are in there? And so it enables a conversation to begin. And then
that's smart.
The other thing is, and I don't know if this is smart. I'm sure I've lost sales, but I'll say, you know what? You just got to the show. Don't make a decision now. Walk around and see what's here. I have confidence that my animals are presented well. And I don't think by being pushy, you're going to gain any more sales. I think you're more likely to turn people off. So I always say, there's a lot of great breeders here. Go out there, enjoy the shows, see what you like, and make sure you buy what you like, not what the person selling you likes. And 9 out of 10 times they'll come back, and it might be at the very end of the show, and they'll go, yeah, I kind of looked around and I like your stuff, and present it well. If you're not feeding your snakes, don't bring them to the show. Make sure that they're healthy, and I don't think they should be obese, but they should be in top physical shape.
I would bet that you've gained sales by telling people to go walk around first, because you're creating that conversation and you're creating the trust. Like, oh, you gave me the opportunity to go look around instead. I'll do it.
Well, and the other thing is, if somebody says, oh, I'm looking for this and I don't have it, I'll say, hey, but I do know a breeder that does. I'll walk them to that booth, introduce them to the breeder, and say, hey, they're looking for this, and I'm going to leave you in capable hands, and I'll leave, right? So they might buy from that breeder that day, but look, that's good for the industry. This isn't, this shouldn't be competition. This should be something where we are unified in trying to create a positive image. I mean, let's face it, when people ask me what I do for a living, you got that hesitation, and I'll say, well, I breed snakes, and they'll go, snakes? Really? Like, is there anything else you do? And I said, well, I manufacture ladders as well. And they'll go, snakes and ladders? Oh, okay. It goes right over their head. So, but if you can win somebody by being a normal person, because right away, if they have that ick factor, and up here we have shows where, like, our big show is dogs, cats, birds, fish, everything. So you have people walking by with strollers with dogs and cats in them, and they're looking at your snakes and they're going, oh, I don't like snakes. Well, what a great opportunity to change their mind. So if we can build that army of people that go, yeah, you know what, the snakes are unbelievable, because really 99.5% of the world's population has not seen what we do, right? They don't. Absolutely. They've never seen a piebald, they've never seen a clown, let alone all the different stacked combos. And we produce some of the most beautiful living art on the planet. The only other, maybe koi, comes close, but I don't even think koi have the diversity that we have in the morphs that we have. So, if we can educate people and they walk away with a positive feeling and saying, yeah, you should see these things, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And when you can get one of, like, a snake into the hands of a kid that is there, and you can see the future happening right before your eyes, because you have parents who are afraid and kids who are excited, and to see the parents change their perspective, I bet you get to see that too. And that's
absolutely. I mean, you have to look at everything as an opportunity to create a positive example. Okay, if you can do that, we're going to be headed in the right direction. Absolutely.
So having a logo, having a banner that's not too busy, that is easily seen and memorable. Having photos are a great option, because TV or monitor might be too busy. And having a clean and crisp setup. Those are all very important things, along with customer service. I hope all these people are writing this down, Mark. Because
and also, be presentable yourself. Okay, as corny as it sounds, my booth is white, gray, and my logo is orange. I wear an orange shirt with gray pants, or I'll wear gray pants. I'll wear an orange pants with a gray shirt. I color coordinate to my booth, and so does my wife, and it's just my wife and I in the booth together, and it's a 30-foot booth. But look professional, look successful, and nobody's ever going to look at you and go, oh yeah, you're just way too well dressed. But they will look at you if you're wearing, if you got stains on your shirt, or you like you look like you just crawled out of bed and you're disinterested. That affects everything, so
one of the problems we see is cut off sleeves and cut off shorts. And
be presentable.
Yeah. Class it up.
Yeah, class it up. Yeah, look successful. Don't look like what they think a snake breeder looks like.
And also think of it like it's your job. you're going there for just a couple days to run your booth, right? Go there like you want to mean business. You want to sell your brand. Also, Mark, if you and your wife get lost, people know how to bring you back to your booth because you match. It's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing how many people walk by and, oh, look at you. You're so cute. You're such a cute couple, and it's like, well, but we put a lot of thought into it. Everything we do, the lighting, as far, the tablecloths have to be pressed and tight, no wrinkles, no nothing. I mean, I'm a little anal about all these kind of things, but I think it's a good thing in the end. But it's so much fun to do, to envision it and see it come to life. And it's interesting because I had a great booth, and when we did it in 23, we went back to the show after COVID and whatever, and the week before, I decided I'm going to change the whole booth. And I went to a sign place and I said, okay, this is what I want. Can you do this? Yeah, we can do it for you, and whatever. And I didn't even tell my wife I was doing it, because she would have went, really? Is it necessary? And I'm like, yes, it is necessary. So I didn't even tell her. And I start putting up this booth, and she stands back and she said, you didn't tell me about this, did you? And I said, no. She said, it looks amazing. Looks amazing, so always surprise people. Don't be predictable. Always surprise people, and take every opportunity you can to not just build your brand, but build a positive image of this industry.
Mark, you just wrapped it up at like the absolute perfect time. We've got 30 seconds left, and that
really
was beautiful. Yeah, it's like you knew exactly what you're a professional, Mark.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us. We have really enjoyed this opportunity to get to know you and hope to get to know you more in the future. And we hope that everybody enjoyed this session and that they stick around for some more.
All right. Well, thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming, everybody.